Welcome to Table Flippers Podcast. Table Flippers is an outreach of Greater Works Christian Church here in Lancaster, California. I am your host, Robert Enos, along with Chippy the Chipmunk.
If it wasn't for me, no one would listen to this show. It's all about Chippy.
Get ready to be challenged, to be confronted with truth and reality, and get ready for a revolution. It's found at Table Flippers.
Oh boy. Here we go again.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're back for another exciting episode of Table Flippers Podcast. Today I want to share some things. I have 3 articles that I want to read from. I'm not going to read all of these articles. I'll probably read the first one, the whole thing, just because this is the one that caught my attention and made me do just a little, very little research into the rest, just to bring you some numbers and some perspective on this. So the first article, again, is from Daily Wire, and it says this: House Dem leaves Progressive Caucus in break over Israel. This is by Daniel, I believe his name is pronounced Chaitin, November 21st, 2023, so earlier today. He posted this or wrote this. And it says, House Democrat has parted ways with the Congressional Progressive Caucus amid a growing rift on Capitol Hill over Israel's war on Hamas. The Intercept broke the story on Monday that Representative Lois Frankel, Democrat of Florida, left because of differing opinions on the Gaza Strip siege. So, this representative, Lois Frankel, just by the name, I believe she would be Jewish. She's a Democrat, a Jewish Democrat. Doesn't make sense, I know, ladies and gentlemen, but a Jewish Democrat from Florida especially doesn't make sense. But she broke away from this Congressional Progressive Caucus, the caucus. She broke away from them because she didn't agree with what they were saying about what's going on over there in Israel, Gaza Strip, between the Palestinians and Israel. So let me go on with this. It says the Internet Archive's Wayback Machine shows. Internet Archive's Wayback Machine. Anyways, I don't know what that is, but shows Frankel was removed from the caucus's online membership page sometime over the past several weeks. Frankel, who is Jewish, voiced unwavering support for Israel after Hamas carried out terrorist attacks on Israeli soil that killed more than 1,000 people and led to hundreds of hostages being taken on October 7th. Her strong pro-Israel stance puts Frankel at odds with members of the leftist squad, who have criticized Israel, prompting a wave of primary challenges in the 2024 election cycle. Before I go on with this, ladies and gentlemen, I just want to say this, my little disclaimer. My disclaimer is this. I really, because of what's going on over there in Israel, Gaza Strip, people are dying, there's war, it's horrible, it's ugly all the way around, no matter how you look at it. Don't get me wrong, I'm on the side of Israel, and I agree with what they're doing. And I'm not saying 100% of how they're doing it, only because, unfortunately, in war, mistakes are made, and often people pay and suffer those mistakes. However, given the, as you would say, the hand that they were given, the cards that they were dealt, they're doing the best that they can with what they have. And Israel is kicking butt. All right, and I support Israel 100%. So with that, I want to say to Ms. Frankel, Democrat, Florida, being Jewish yourself, and I'm very, very, very sorry with what you know to be going on over there in that part of the world. Maybe I don't know you, and I don't know your family situation or your friendship situation. So, but I'm sure with the size of Israel that I am sure that being Jewish, that hit very close to home for you. Maybe friends, maybe family members were affected in some way, of course, negative because of all of that, but nonetheless affected. And to that, my heart does go out to you. And I mean that with all sincerity, and I mean that from the bottom of my heart in all sincerity. I can't even imagine what the Jewish people all over the world are going through right now, only by what they tell me, but actually feeling it the same way they're feeling it, I can't even imagine. So again, Ms. Frankel, my heart goes out to you. However, I know most of you knew that there was going to be a but, so I said, however, just to throw you off. But anyways, there's a problem with this. Okay, let me back up on this before I read the rest of this. Ms. Frankel, what's her name? Lois Frankel. She's a Democrat, all right? A Democrat from Florida, but nonetheless a Democrat. And she is on this progressive, or was on this Progressive Caucus, this Progressive Caucus. And so that tells me that she's not just a Democrat, a liberal, but she's very progressive to be on some type of Progressive Caucus. Those are like, you've seen, Democrats are left-leaning, ladies and gentlemen. The progressives, or those who claim to be, they're all progressive, by the way. It sounds like, oh, we're just making progress. Yeah, into debauchery and nonsense. But those who claim to be progressive are even more left-leaning. Those are the ones that are, more communist-leaning, Marxist-leaning. They've gone beyond socialist and right into communism and Marxism. So I'm assuming that Ms. Frankel, Democrat from Florida, is that extreme left-leaning, communist-minded, Marxist-minded, which goes against the very word of God, the very Bible that the Jewish people are supposed to be adhering to. They're incompatible. Okay, the Bible, the word of God, so the Jewish religion and the Christian religion, but the Jewish religion, Ms. Frankel, is incompatible. The very thing that makes you guys Jews is incompatible with the progressive ideology that you're a part of. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I want to go on because I don't want to get ahead of myself too much. But just keep this in mind, ladies and gentlemen. Here's a woman that says, "Oh, I'm all for Israel right now," breaking away finally from the Progressive Caucus and their ideology and their mindset and what they push, because they're all, pro-Palestine, pro-Hamas, pro-baby cutting off head murder. So I do want to applaud you, Ms. Frankel, for at least stepping away and waking up to that. But I'm just going to be honest with you, it's not enough, and it's not soon enough. Let me go on with this. Let me see, where did I leave off? Oh, here it is. In a follow-up report on Tuesday, Axios said Frankel's office confirmed her departure, and the news outlet cited a source who pinned the decision to leave on how some members in the leftist caucus were responding to the Israel situation. I just think that's a funny word, caucus. Okay, the leftist caucus. Anyways, they were responding to the Israel situation in a manner that made Ms. Frankel uncomfortable at least, and possibly completely disagreed with, which again, I applaud that, Ms. Frankel. The Internet Archive's Wayback Machine shows Frankel was removed from the caucus online membership page sometime over the past several weeks. Did I already read that? Oh, that was said twice in this article. Frankel, who is Jewish, voiced unwavering support for Israel. I already read all of this. Let me find where I really left off. Oh, here I am. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen. Let me just reread this last statement where I left off before I got on my rant, and pick it up from there. Speaking of Ms. Frankel, her strong pro-Israel stance puts Frankel at odds with members of the leftist squad who have criticized Israel, prompting a wave of primary challenges in the 2024 election cycle. Now, this is where I should have picked up on it. The chairwoman of the Congressional Progressive Caucus, Representative Pramila Jayapal, anyways, a Democrat from Washington, drew controversy and sought to apologize in July after she said Israel was a racist state. Well, Miss Jayapal, whatever your name is, Democrat from Washington, I'm sorry. I've been to Israel. It's not a racist state. All races, all colors, all creeds, and all religions show up there to worship the one true God of the Bible, and without any problems, without any issues. The surrounding nations, they're racist. So maybe you were looking at the map wrong. Anyways, let me go on, ladies and gentlemen, before my blood boils. Weeks into the operation in Gaza, though there is a growing number of leftist members of the House and Senate calling for a ceasefire while raising concerns about casualties among Palestinian civilians. Other Democrats have stayed resolute by standing by Israel as it fights to root out Hamas. Let me address something in this that so many are saying. Those poor Palestinians, look at all the casualties of these innocent people. Okay, remember 9/11 when those airplanes slammed into our buildings here on our home soil and upwards of 3,000 people were murdered by these terrorists? Yeah, these wonderful Palestinian civilians, even way back when, were in the streets celebrating. When Hamas terrorists marched into Israel and started cutting off babies' heads on October, 7th? The Palestinians were in the street celebrating. These are not innocent civilians, ladies and gentlemen. Remember, Hamas is part of this Palestinian state. They are the leaders, the head, the government, if you will, of the Gaza Strip, the West Bank. They are Palestinians. So the Palestinians have been not only ruled by them, but supporting them and even cheering when they go in and do some terrorist activities among the truly innocent, whether they be in the United States of America or in Israel or some other part of the world. They celebrate. These innocent civilians celebrate when others are murdered. Now it's happening to them. The bombs are falling on them, and they're crying to the world, look at our poor babies. Look at our poor innocent people. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, I don't buy it. Please don't misunderstand me. I cannot stand the idea of children who are the innocent losing their lives in this war on either side. But at the same time, I'm a realist. I look at what Israel's had to endure at the hands of the Palestinians and Hamas, and I have to ask this question. What other choice do they have? If they stop and they have a ceasefire and they stop, then their children are going to be butchered and murdered again. So they have to continue this for their own safety, for the safety of their children, for the safety of their future. I don't like it, but it's the reality that we all have to deal with. Let me go on with this article. It says Frankel was one of 22 Democrats who voted in favor of censuring Representative Rashida Tlaib, who is a Democrat from Michigan, who is a member of the Squad and a vice chairwoman for the Congressional Progressive Caucus for her rhetoric about Israel. The censure resolution, which passed with broad GOP support earlier this month, reprimanded Tlaib, whatever, I don't know how to pronounce her name, for promoting false narratives regarding the October 7, 2023 Hamas assault on Israel and for calling for the destruction of the state of Israel. So I want you to think, ladies and gentlemen, check this out. So Rashida Tlaib, Democrat from Michigan, who's part of the Squad and vice chairwoman for the Congressional Progressive Caucus, the same caucus that Ms. Frankel was on, Democrat from Florida. I want you to understand this. She didn't get upset enough to leave this caucus on other things that are just as wicked that Miss Tlaib, Democrat from Michigan, has been saying and doing until it hits something personal for her. Who cares that it was personal to you or to me or to any other American? But if she didn't get upset and leave and raise her voice until it made it personal for her. So Miss Rashida Tlaib, Democrat from Michigan, horrible, terrible leader and terrible leadership coming from her. And Lois Frankel, Democrat from Florida, terrible, terrible leadership. Why? The only time they voice their opinion or the only time they get upset is when it hits their home. They don't care about you. They don't care about me. They don't care about the rest of the society. They're sharing and they're on this congressional caucus together, this progressive congressional caucus together, and they don't have any problem with one another until it starts hitting home for Ms. Frankel. And in a very hypocritical fashion, her frustration and her anger is hypocrisy, great hypocrisy. We're going to talk about that in just a minute. It says, in addition, Frankel joined with 11 other Democrats and most Republicans to pass a White House-opposed plan to offset $14.3 billion in aid for Israel by slashing the same amount of funds meant for the Internal Revenue Service, the IRS. The United States has a moral duty and a national security urgency to aid Israel in defending herself, Frankel said in a statement on the vote. Make no mistake, Hamas terrorists and others in the region are out to destroy Israel and kill all Jews. We must send an unequivocal message to the world that we will stand with Israel. Now, while I will agree with that, I agree with her final statements there. I do agree with that. But it also comes from a mouth of hypocrisy because of where she would stand just being a Democrat, and even worse, being on this congressional Progressive Caucus, working with somebody like Rashida Tlaib, whatever her name is, Democrat from Michigan. And you see, it's no surprise to me. It doesn't surprise me. It frustrates me, but it doesn't surprise me because Democrats have always been double-minded. When it comes to just you and me, normal America or conservative Americans, screw them. Screw you guys. Screw you. This doesn't affect me. So I'm going to vote against you. I'm going to make your life terrible. I'm going to make your life painful. Oh, wait a minute. All of a sudden, now it's affecting me because my last name is Frankel. I have Jewish friends. Now it's affecting me. Oh, I got to turn my back on all of this progressivism and all this left-leaning liberalism and start acting like a conservative. Have you noticed, ladies and gentlemen, when it hits them in either their pocketbook or in their heart, their emotions, which is difficult because their hearts are so small. But if it finally hits their heart and they feel the pain of it mentally, emotionally, or financially, suddenly they start thinking like conservatives. When, in fact, if they would have just thought like conservatives all along, voted like conservatives, walked like conservatives, not only they, but everybody else in this country would have been far better off. And everybody in the world, because this never would have happened the way it did if everyone in Congress, everyone in the Senate started acting and thinking conservatively. But because these liberals are so double-minded and so perverted in their thinking, this was allowed to happen. And now we have a divide, even in our own government, in the Republicans and the Democrats, primarily in the Democrats. Some are standing up for Palestine. Some of them are standing up for Israel, but they didn't do this before. Now, I want to show you the hypocrisy of this. Why is Ms. Frankel so upset? Because Hamas terrorists came into Israel and started killing her people, the Jewish people. Also, more than just killing people, they started butchering babies. That made everybody with any kind of heart or conscience sick to their stomach and made us all realize there's no way I can in any way support Hamas. I can't support the Palestinians that kept Hamas around. We have to support Israel. Regardless of what when you just take a normal person who just understands how things work, it didn't matter where they were before. Those people with a healthy outlook on life that are realists are supporting Israel. Why? Because they understand this stuff. They understand that when wicked people come in and start slaughtering innocent people and cutting off children's heads, something needs to be done. We're going to support the truly innocent, and that's Israel. But when you have people like Rashida, whatever her name is, Democrat from Michigan, standing up and being so foolish and ignorant and hard-hearted and wicked in supporting the Palestinians and denouncing Israel and even calling for the destruction of Israel, that's just evil and that's wicked. That's what makes room for these types of things to happen. That's what creates the atmosphere and gives the green light to these terrorists to walk in and cut off babies' heads. And Miss Frankel, I'm sorry, but you were part of that. Why? Because for so long, you think and you acted, you voted, and you moved like a Democrat. It was Democrat liberal policies, and it was the Progressive Caucus and their policies, their mindset that created the atmosphere for this thing to happen. Not just there, but also here. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, let me explain something to you, okay? So Ms. Frankel and some other Democrats are upset that Hamas came in and started cutting off babies' heads in Israel and even throwing them in the oven and baking them alive, little girls having their arms cut off by these terrorists, young women being raped brutally. Not that any rape is not brutal, but extraordinarily brutal there. And now all of a sudden they're upset. But wait, ladies and gentlemen, wait a minute. I see some great hypocrisy yet again in the Democrat Party. Let me explain to you what I mean. Since 1973, abortion has been legal in the United States of America. I do know that at the federal level, Roe v. Wade was turned over, but it doesn't mean abortion is stopped. The states that choose to keep it legal have kept it legal. As a matter of fact, our wonderful state of California with Governor Newsom, Democrat, California governor, he set billboards up in the states that made it illegal, that made abortion illegal, because they were waiting for Roe v. Wade to be turned over at the federal level so they can jump on it, because it was pushed then to the states. Now the states have to decide. So some states in the union said, okay, no abortions in our state. Finally, we can pass laws that say no more abortions. Well, Governor Newsom, Democrat, California, pervert and baby murderer, he starts putting up billboards and ads in the states that banned abortion. He started putting up billboards saying, come to America. Not only will we pay for you, come to America. I'm sorry, come to California. I am so sorry, ladies and gentlemen. I am so sorry for those of you who love the red, white, and blue and fly old glory that I equated California with America. What a horrible slip up on my part. Please forgive me. Please forgive me. I did not mean it. In my frustration and my anger, I did a huge faux pas, and I am going to go repent and beg God for mercy. But I'll do that after this. So Governor Newsom put these billboards and all these ads telling people in the states that made abortion illegal, hey, come to California. We'll pay for it, and you can have a free abortion. We'll pay for you to get here, your accommodations, and we'll pay for you to get home. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, that actually happened. So not only did he keep baby murder alive and well in California, it's even, you know what? California has become so corrupt because of our government. The state itself is still beautiful, but the state government is so wicked and so corrupt that it's no longer California, the California that I grew up to love. It's California. I mean, yes, it is, ladies and gentlemen. So anyways, let me get back to this. So the Democrats are big proponents of abortion, baby murder, the murder of the most innocent among us, children in the womb. And they're okay with destroying and ripping that baby apart in an abortion. And since 1973 in America, upwards of 63 million babies have been aborted and murdered in the womb. The place that should be the safest place for a child is in the womb, and they've been murdered there. Okay? Now, Miss Frankel, Lois Frankel, Democrat of Florida, is part of the Democrat Party. And being part of the Democrat Party, she also is responsible for many of those baby murders, okay? And being in a very progressive caucus, even more so than your average Democrat. Democrats are all guilty of this, but some are even more guilty. And she was part of this progressive caucus that would even be more guilty just because of the progressive ideologies. Does that make sense? So how can she push for the murder of millions of babies, and then when a terrorist comes into Israel and kills a Jewish baby, suddenly she's up in arms? But the black babies in the black community, she's pushing that just by being a Democrat. She's supporting Planned Parenthood just because she's a Democrat. And when you have these baby murder operation mills, Planned Parenthood, in low-income areas, she's against the poor. She's pushing that. Abortion on demand, meaning taxpayers, you and me, ladies and gentlemen, and we don't have any choice about it, that our tax dollars are going to murder children. And she, because she's a Democrat, supports it and pushes it. And even worse, because she's on this Progressive Caucus, she pushes it even more. There's so much blood on her hands just because she's a Democrat. Now she's upset that babies are being murdered. Now she's angry. Now she wants to rise up and put a stop to it. Now she wants to take money even from her own beloved IRS and give it to Israel because Israel's babies are being murdered. Well, why? What's going on right here at home because of you, Miss Frankel? I'm sorry. I truly am sorry that there are babies in Israel being murdered. I can't stomach it. But maybe you would have a leg to stand on if you actually fought for the babies being murdered here in the United States of America through Planned Parenthood, through abortion. I wouldn't be doing this podcast calling you out on it. You're double-minded. You're evil. And I hope, God, I hope, and I pray God gets a hold of you and uses this to bring you to true repentance and a true change of mind and a true change of heart. There's still hope, ladies and gentlemen, and I pray each and every one of you prays for Lois Frankel, Democrat of Florida, that her repentance and her change of heart is full and complete. That she doesn't only want to see the murder of Jewish babies stop, but that she would want to see the murder of all babies stop, regardless of who they are or where they are. It's not right just to say, wait. These are Jewish babies being murdered, so I'm against that. But let's put a Planned Parenthood in a black community. You see how disgusting that is, ladies and gentlemen? And I'm just calling her out, but this is the Democrat Party. This is the Democrat Party. All of them. Wicked, evil, unrighteous, unholy, ungodly, sick, and perverted. That's the Democrat Party. But wait, ladies and gentlemen, there's more. Sounds like an infomercial, doesn't it? Now, for those Hamas terrorists to walk into or drive into or fly into, however they got there, into Israel, they had to do it illegally, okay? They busted through the border fence. They flew over it. They, how else did they do? Oh, they were on boats and they came around through the sea, so they had to come around any kind of barriers or anything like that and come around and land their little boats on the seashore there in Israel. All right, so they had to do it illegally. It wasn't legal for them to do it. They broke Israeli law. Now, so Miss Lois Frankel, Democrat of Florida, you must understand then the danger of not having a secure border because Israel's secure, very secure border went down for just a short while. And look what happened. You're a Democrat. You side with Democrat policies and ideology just by virtue of being a Democrat. The border wall was never completed on our southern border, and we certainly don't have one on our northern border. Millions of people are pouring over that southern border into the United States of America. And even though many are caught and many are turned back, a majority of them are not. As a matter of fact, the Democrat-controlled Biden administration has sent federal agents down there to literally destroy the barbed wire fencing and the barbed wire rolls on the southern border. We have actual video clips of them cutting holes in it and destroying it and dismantling it so that people can just walk over from the southern border. We don't know who these people are. A lot of people say, oh, they're Mexicans. Some of them are. A great deal of them are. Some of them are from Central America and South America, but a lot of them are not. Many of them are Chinese operatives. Many of them are operatives, terrorist operatives from the Middle East, and they just mix in very easily. How do we know this? I want to read just a little portion of an article. And what's fascinating about this article, and I can't believe I'm actually reading this, ladies and gentlemen, I really can't. But I chose this particular article, there's many like it, from this news agency just to make a point. Okay, and this is actually from the New York Times. I know, ladies and gentlemen, I know. Don't turn me off. New York Times. How good can it get? But when the New York Times actually says something, this whole article is not all correct, but there is a portion of it that is, and it points to something. And the title of this article says, or it's entitled, More Migrants on Terrorism Watch List Crossed U.S. Border. Let me read that again. More migrants on terrorism watch list crossed U.S. border. The subtitle says, the numbers are a minuscule percentage of the total arrested after crossing the border, officials said. Okay, so it says people on the terrorist watch list, people that are known terrorists or have terrorist ties, have crossed the border as migrants. Okay, they've crossed the border illegally. Then they tried to downplay it in the very next subtitle. The numbers are minuscule, a minuscule percentage of the total arrested. So what? So what? I don't remember the exact number, but I want you to think about this. How many terrorists did it take to bring down the Twin Towers in New York? How many terrorists did it take to knock a big old hole in our Pentagon on, I believe it was the same exact day, when they took over those airplanes and flew them into our buildings? Didn't take a lot. So let me just read a little bit of this. This article is by Eileen Sullivan. She's reporting from Washington, and this was actually published November 15th, 2023, just a few days ago. It says, an increasing number of migrants arrested at the southern border over the past year are on the United States terrorist watch list, according to government data. Now, thank God, ladies and gentlemen, that the ones that she's talking about in this article were actually arrested, and I'm assuming sent back to wherever they came from or put in prison, I hope. But how many weren't arrested? How many slipped by? How many actually made it into America? How many now are part of these, what they call sleeper cells, just waiting to be activated and murder and maim American citizens on American soil? How many? One? Well, one is one too many. Let me just read a little bit more. It says, from October last year to this September, officials at the southern border arrested 169 people whose names match those on the watch list, compared to 98 during the previous fiscal year and 15 in 2021. So you can see the numbers are growing. Why are the numbers of these people trying to get here growing? Because we have an open border policy thanks to the Biden administration and thanks to Democrats, such as Lois Frankel, Democrat from Florida. The increase appears to reflect at least two factors: a surge in illegal crossings and the number of people arriving from a wider variety of countries than in previous years. Well, duh. Still, Republicans have seized on those numbers to assail President Biden for border policies that they say make Americans unsafe. I'm just going to stop right there because, well, that's a good place to stop. Of course, open border policies make America unsafe. Listen, Israel had one of the most secure, if not the most secure border in the world. All right. I mean, top notch in technology, the best of the best of the best. And there was a failure. And that failure, whether it was an inside job shutting it down or whatever, nonetheless, there was a failure in it. And look what happened. Now Israel is in a war. Upwards of 1,000 or more people were murdered on that day, October 7th. Citizens, men, women, children, babies having their heads cut off by these terrorists. Babies being put in ovens and baked to death by these terrorists. Women being raped and paraded in the streets by these terrorists because their border security failed for just moments. And we have a complete open border thanks to the Biden administration and the Democrat Party. Thanks to people like Lois Frankel, Democrat of Florida, and certainly of Rashida Tlaib, Democrat of Michigan, and certainly governors like Democrat Governor Newsom of California, California. He's made it California. So it says here, still, Republicans have seized on the number to assail President Biden for border policies that they say make Americans unsafe. Thank God for these Republicans that have seized those numbers and assail President Biden for his border policies, because we know that if 169 people were caught and arrested, there was a whole bunch more that weren't. I don't know that number. Nobody will really fully know that number. We don't know. We see the videos. We see the pictures. We have people down at the border filming at times, hundreds of people sneaking over the border. And I believe somewhere in this article talks about the millions that have come over illegally. But we only have 169 people that were arrested. They're on the terrorist watch list. Okay. But millions have come over. Who's mixed in with those millions? Who's mixed in with those millions that are on the terrorist watch list, that are here to do harm to Americans that we didn't capture, that we didn't see, that passed through We'll never know. But they are here, ladies and gentlemen. Why? Because of our open border policy, thanks to the Democrats, thanks to people like Lois Frankel, Democrat of Florida, and Rashida Tlaib, Democrat of Michigan, and all the Democrats in office. People could just walk over here. Terrorists, thugs, with drugs, weapons, with bomb-making what do you call it? Equipment. Why? Because we have an open border. And you can only catch some of them, not all of them. That's why I say, ladies and gentlemen, not only is the Democrat Party very hypocritical, but I'm sorry, Ms. Frankel. I know you're going through it, and I know you feel the pain of people in Israel. They're losing their lives to these terrorists. And my heart does go out to you, and especially to them. But I draw the line, because maybe you should have had that same kind of drive, that same kind of passion towards the people here in America, between the babies being aborted, brutally aborted and murdered in the womb. And maybe, just maybe, you should have had that same kind of drive and zeal towards our open border that's just welcoming to terrorists to come in here who will, not maybe, but are going to at least try to murder and maim American people. And the blood is on your hands simply because of this. You're a Democrat. You're a Democrat. And that's what Democrats do. They make stupid excuses. They have stupid policies, murderous policies, wicked policies, and it's going to hurt Americans. And look what's happening in Israel, a super, extremely secure nation. And look what's happening. We don't have near that security. It will happen here, thanks to you, Lois Frankel, Democrat of Florida. So I am happy that you're waking up, but it would have been nice for you to wake up a year ago, 2 years ago, 5 years ago. It would have been nice that you would have seen the writing on the wall long before you decided you're going to be a Democrat and run and push Democrat policies. So the blood's on your hand. Rashida Tlaib, the blood is on your hands. Gavin Newsom, the blood is on your hands. And I know that most of you in the Democrat Party don't even really care. But we, the American people, care. And we're rising up. We're waking up. And your day will come. Mark my words, your day will come. We are tired of this, and we will not put up with it any longer. Thank you for joining us at Table Flippers. Please email me at gwccrobert@gmail.com, gwccrobert@gmail.com. Now go out and have a table flipping day.
Oh, brother, how cheesy.
Should I have said have a chipalicious day?
Chipalicious? Now you're talking.
Say goodbye, Chippy.
Say goodbye.